I'm Caleb. What's something you used to love that went viral? Something that for a moment seemed to be everywhere online. I mean, you talked about it, you shared it, maybe you even made your own post or video to get in on it. For a moment, this was the thing that everybody, including you, was all about. I remember a couple trends from my day, you know, back in the early 2000s, way like ancient history. We had the cinnamon challenge, we had the ice bucket challenge, we had the chubby bunny challenge. I'm never gonna do that again. We had the gallon challenge. We had challenges for days. And I thought maybe we could do one of those, but instead, what if we did one of yours? I think you guys remember the Sprite challenge, you know, where they, I don't know why we tap the top of this, but we do. I've never seen it work. Man, that's just so refreshing. So the challenge is when you take a soda and you drink the whole thing without stopping, and then you hopefully just, that's not what it's gonna sound like. Hopefully it sounds better than that. Here we go. I also, side note, I'm so sorry. I think I'm gonna get a brain freeze and burp at the same time, so y'all have 911 on standby for me. Thanks, cool, here we go. And I just brushed my teeth. It was just a cough, it wasn't a burp. I don't think it's happening. I think we need to do another one. I almost did it while drinking. I keep doing, what is happening to me? Like every time I breathed, it was just like a little, and I would like cough and then and cough. That was hilarious. Thank you so much. There, come on. Woo. So what's so funny about viral trends is that just as quickly as they come, they're gone. It's like 1 minute, it's the only thing you're talking about, and then the next minute, you're over it. It's gone from your mind, your social media feed, your conversations, and eventually your memory. I mean, one day you see it or hear it referenced again and you think, oh, I saw that forever ago. I completely forgot it was even a thing. I mean, I loved, and we fancy like Applebee's on a date night. Got that Bourbon Street steak with the Oreo shake. Right, come on. It was fun when it came out, but now only your mom or your 5-year-old cousin is into it. It was popular for a minute and then it just wasn't. For some reason, when something goes viral, it has a ton of value at the time. But as soon as its popularity dies down, it loses that value almost overnight. I don't know if you've ever thought about it this way, but I think we sometimes tend to see ourselves the same way we see viral trends. Okay, we see ourselves the same way we see viral trends. One day, you've got it all together. You've got the sneakers, the hat, the style you wanna have. You know all the current TikTok trends, and you have the phone you want. There's no drama in your friend group. Your grades are great. You just earned the starting spot on the team, and you've been DMing that person that you really, really like, you know the one. And what's even better, when everyone around you sees that you have those things we think are valuable. When people notice, it's a pretty great feeling. Like when you make the winning shot for the team, and the whole school sees it happen. Or when you get a ton of comments and posts on social media on your birthday. Or when you make the honor roll, or someone compliments your outfit, or you start dating that super popular person at your school. Moments like this make us feel so valued, don't they? We feel good about ourselves because of what we've accomplished or what others have noticed about us. And whether we realize it or not, we're basing our value on that feeling. In other words, when we feel good, we feel valuable. But unfortunately, the opposite of this is true too. When all the positive attention and compliments seem to just disappear, we don't feel all that great about ourselves anymore. When you lose your starting spot on the team to someone else, when you bomb that audition, when you fail a class, when no one comments, no one likes or mentions you on social media, when you get teased because of what you're wearing, when you get broken up with and everyone knows it, in those moments, it feels like we failed. Suddenly, the only attention we're getting is negative. Or worse, we're not getting noticed anymore at all. It feels pretty bad, doesn't it? Suddenly, what gave us value is just gone. I don't know about you, but it feels like riding the worst roller coaster in the world. When we're up, yo, Woo, we love it. But when our value drops, well, it's worse than the pit in your stomach on the biggest drop at the theme park. What's worse is that the ups and downs just never seem to stop, and it's just going and going. And that's the danger in making the attention or compliments of others the thing that gives us value. When we think we're great only when other people say we're awesome. When we make others' opinions the first place we go to make us feel better about ourselves. When we base the way we see ourselves on how others see us. And if we're not careful, we can start to believe that the only way to find any value at all is to look for it from other people. If you know what I'm talking about, don't worry, you're not alone. We're all tempted to feel more or less valuable based on the words, actions, and attention from other people. But I think we can all agree that ultimately, it's not the way we want to live. There has to be a better way, right? The truth is, how God feels about you should be the first place we all look to find our value. After all, since God is really the one who made us all, then maybe God should be the one determining our value. If only it were that simple. The good news for us is that thousands of years ago, people who followed God were struggling with the same thing. They were wondering how to determine their worth in a way that would last. In fact, about 2,000 years ago, a man named Luke wrote down a conversation Jesus had that was all about value. And in it, we can find so much wisdom about how we can find our own value in the God who made us. Leading into this conversation, Jesus was talking to a group of religious leaders of that time called Pharisees. These guys were having a hard time understanding why Jesus chose to hang out with people that they considered to be of little value. You see, Jesus had a habit of hanging out with people like sinners and tax collectors. These were people who wouldn't have felt very valued because of the way others treated them back then. In the mind of the Pharisees, someone like Jesus would never give these people any attention at all. So they took their thoughts right to the source. The Pharisees started questioning Jesus about his choice of friends, and in response, Jesus gave them a lesson about the value of everyone. It's amazing how Jesus can use one thing to change everything, and in the story, he used sheep. Yeah, that's right, sheep. Let's take a look. So Jesus told them this story. If a man has 100 sheep and one of them gets lost, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others in the wilderness and go to search for the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he will joyfully carry it home on his shoulders. When he arrives, he will call together his friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me because I have found my lost sheep." Okay, let's break this down for just a second. Jesus started this story by talking about a shepherd and a sheep. That might seem a little weird to us, but 2,000 years ago, sheep were really valuable. The more sheep you had, the more financial value you had in that culture. You could trade them, sell them, and make clothes and blankets out of their wool. Sheep had a lot of value to the people in ancient Israel. So, as soon as Jesus started talking about sheep, the people listening knew exactly what he meant. Jesus said that even though the shepherd owned 100 sheep, when one wandered off, the shepherd left the other 99 to go and find it. Honestly, this sounds a little crazy, right? I mean, who would leave 99 perfectly good sheep in the wilderness to go after the one that got lost? Really, how valuable could this one sheep be in comparison to the other 99? What's even crazier, when the shepherd found that one lost sheep, he was so excited that he carried it home on his shoulders and threw a party to celebrate. A party over one single sheep. It sounds insane, right? Well, let's take a look at what Jesus said next. In the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over 99 others who are righteous and haven't strayed away. So basically, Jesus said that God throws a giant party in heaven when just one person comes to faith. When even one person in all of the billions of people on the planet takes a step to follow God, Jesus said that the best party you could ever imagine takes place. It's like all of heaven is doing a victory dance that just one person decided to put God in first place in their hearts. It's like, hold on a minute. I got an idea. It's like this. You know what's crazy? God celebrates even more when someone dedicates their life to following Jesus. We know because Jesus told the Pharisees that this is the amount of joy God feels when just one person comes to faith. And to me, that shows how much value we have to God. In fact, one person's life is just as valuable to God as that one lost sheep was to the shepherd. Even when someone messes up, turns away from following God, or starts making poor choices, they are still loved by God. Even when everyone else seems to say otherwise, you have value because you are loved by God, and God determines your value. Remembering that truth is the key to getting off the roller coaster of finding our value anywhere else. When we put what God says about who we are in first place, we'll find it easier to be confident in our own self-worth. See, I think Jesus told this story because he wants us to understand how much we are worth to God. He wants us to understand how much God loves and values us so that we might start to see ourselves that way too. About 2,000 years ago, when Jesus was on this earth, a religious leader asked Jesus what he thought was the greatest commandment. In other words, he asked what the most important thing was. This is what Jesus said. Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments." Jesus basically said to love God, love others, and love yourself. This is what's most important. Listen, this is important because we know that Jesus said loving God and loving others is the greatest thing we can do. It's first place in our faith, but the only way to do that is to love ourselves the way God loves us. We can't fully love or value others if we don't love or value ourselves first. God determines your value. No matter how much you think you've messed up, no matter how far you think you've gone from God, no matter what people at school say about you, no matter how good or bad things in life seem to be for you, God determines your value. So, start here. Let's commit to doing just one thing together to help us remember that God determines your value. Know who God says you are. Nothing in your life has to go viral for you to know how much you're loved. No matter what, you can find your value in God. So, find a way to remind yourself that you're incredibly valuable to God. And that means you can be confident that your value never changes or decreases. Imagine what could change about your life if you believed God values you no matter what. I think we'd all be more confident in who we are if we found our value first in God, because God determines your value.